the stream.
Evening, guys. How are we all today?
Couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better.
It's been a misty old rainy day out here in Auckland, and we're coping with everything else. Though.
Yeah, no, it's been a bit of a shitty old Labour weekend, but we're all in lockdown. And Baz, you've been enjoying your man cave there with a little bit of creature comforts, I hear.
Yeah, had a bit of a change around. Got rid of some of the retro-style chairs and tables that served me well for some time. But obviously now that we're not allowed to have guests anymore, had too many chairs. So got rid of those, and I'm sitting in these new executive chairs, courtesy of, we're having a revamp at Fairview Motors, and these happen to fall in my lap. Well, actually, I've fallen in their lap. So,
yeah.
Comfort Central.
Comfort Central. Yeah, well, look, it's been you've had a week off, guys. I gave you a break last week. Obviously, I did something a little bit different. Got to interview Eric Bruton from France, from French Speed Connection. He gave us a bit of an insight as to where Abe lives. We didn't get to see Abe, but I hear on good authority that he's going to let us have another catch up. And but yeah, what did you think of the cars in that shed?
I mean, you don't get to see collections like that unless you're privileged, and I think we all had a preview there of just what these guys are doing. It's just fantastic to think that we were right in there, having a little bit told how it all happened. Pretty special week last week.
Yeah, and down to earth guys too. How friendly.
Yeah, no, it was very good. So, yeah, it was pretty fortunate to go and have a look around, and just enjoying a beverage and talking cars. So, well, speaking of talking cars, we're going to get back on the horse, so to speak, this week, and we're kind of picking up where we left off with. Oh, geez, sorry guys, you're a bit small there on the screen.
Take that off. Take that off. Baz wants to sell that car. I can see it. Just shut your eyes. Shut your eyes.
Everything's for sale.
Yeah. So that was we talked about the XE and we talked about the Fox bodies. So yeah, that's probably one of the last pictures of the two together, and certainly in Pinepac colours. Before the XE headed off to the Midgley family. So for those eagle-eyed viewers at home, it's Jacko there in the Falcon with the black helmet and Bruce in the Mustang in the background with the yellow helmet. So
and this is I think got to be Bay Park. I'm taking the outside line. I'm just going to nail him going here. Brakes, handling. This is what it's all about. Now, interesting thing here, just during the week, came up on Facebook, a black and white photo, which I'm sure is the same one as this, and it's come up as a cover page on, I think it's Sports Sedans, and it's one of the newsletters way back in the day. And I posted a note because I didn't think we had a colour photo of it. But anyway, it was front page news back in the day.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely correct. The quick picks on the side is a bit of a giveaway that's coming out of Champion onto the front straight at Bay Park. Nice crowd in the background, always a good spot to catch the action. And I think, Baz, you were frequenting on the back straight more than not.
The back straight, yeah, we owned it.
You owned it. So this was sort of a bit of a...
It was largely undeveloped back then. It was all toy bushes and pine trees, as I recall. So there's probably a bit of action going on there.
Yeah, we were largely undeveloped too, Bruce, to be fair.
Anyhow, it's not about the evolving shape of Barry Johnston and his friends. So I thought, well, there's a bit of a segue from where we've gone the Group A era. So we did Group A Falcon, Group A Mustang. Then there was a bit of a hiatus because from '87, the Group A cars all got sold. There wasn't a lot happening car-wise, but there was certainly... I dragged this one out of the archives, Bruce. We'll just put it up on the right screen. There we go. There's even though you weren't...
I'm not too sure about this. Current sponsors would be upset about this. There's a couple of ordinary things going on there. The business being rebranded since then, might I say. And no disrespect to Mitre 10. Back in the day, this is early 90s, we were a member of the Mitre 10 group and enjoyed that period of our business development. But more to the point, here's the notorious Mr. Ed. And when I say notorious, I mean I say that with the most kindest words, because Ed was such a great competitor in New Zealand motor racing. Went on to become a New Zealand touring car champion. And anyway, he was kind enough, and dare I say that, this is quite a step out of line here, mate. You can see that car doesn't actually look like a Ford.
It doesn't have a badge on the front. No, it's...
Exactly. It's got a different looking front to it. Yeah. Opal. Is it an opal?
An opal.
It could have been one of the first. And I prefer that it was called an opal. But however, a great period of time. Ed was looking for a co-pilot down at Wellington. And he was kind enough to give me a call. So this is almost the reverse of what we've been talking about in recent weeks, where we had a number of co-drivers come on board with us, and we enjoyed every moment of that. In this case, I was enjoying the reverse situation where Ed said, "How about you come on board?" So, yeah, great challenge and chance, and loved it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So this sort of fills in the gap a little bit because hadn't been racing since '87. This other person here, and if I can get to the right screen, we get here. I'll just back this up. You might not be able to hear it, but friends back home will. So Brother Wayne got out, and he was having a bit of fun amongst the. I think my audio's all a bit up the wazoo. So there's Wayne in '91 with the newly completed '68 Camaro. And I've just gone quiet because those at home probably could hear it barreling down the back straight of Pookie. So this is what happens when you bring a shotgun to a pistol fight. Everyone else is out there with their classic saloons, and Jacko turns up with a big block Camaro just to blow him to the weeds. So those online, they can go and find it, and I've got it noted down here because I've got to give Mr. Kumu a plug. If you go onto YouTube and look up Mr. Kumu, you'll see a lot of footage that we saw here of the Camaro. But Jacko was back out on track in 1991, and then I hear over a few beverages there was a bit of a suggestion that you could beat him with a small block. Was that correct, Bruce?
Well, of course, this has always been the case with the Chevy Ford, challenges that were out there. This was going to be another one of those classics, and Wayne had jumped ship from Ford, and I was sitting on the sidelines, and I watched what he did, and I thought, well, that's okay. He's racing with the boys, and he cleaned up a couple of Cortinas and a couple of other cars there, and that was all true and proper and the way it should have been back in the day. That's the way the class was. But anyway, I decided that this was just not on. You couldn't take a big yellow car like that out there and not have some serious competition. So I laid down the challenge. I just said, look, cockies, I don't need all that cast iron that you're carrying around. I mean, that's a handicap in itself. So I said, look, small block's the way to go. We'll put a Mustang together and we'll come along and tidy you up. So that's how the challenge started, and we were both up to it. So that was the start of the fun.
Yep. Well, here's the absolute start of that project. This is one of only a few photos that I managed to dig out of the archives. This is back at the race headquarters, and so this was the 69 as it was under construction back in the workshop in about 91. So I know working forward that it debuted in 92, so it's deep into construction. Jacko's is in the background there, so that had its makeover from blue to yellow at about the 91 era, so that's as good as we can get with the time placement. So the story behind the body shell, Dad, where did that originate?
Well, in fact, it's the second Mustang for me. I never ever drove the first one, and one day the current owner might let me sit in the seat and go and do a couple of demo laps. But look, I originally started off with a 65 Mustang shell, and that got to the workshop, and we were going to build it, and then the 69 became available, and it looked like just a nicer car. Now that's taken nothing away from the 65 because they're a beautiful little car too. But that's sort of how it started. We'd been importing parts and complete body shells from the States for a little while at that stage. So that was part of the business of Pinepac racing back in the day.
Yeah, so the 65 that you talk about, obviously that was one that was built for Malcolm Udy, who did the Targa in it, I believe. But that actually got imported into New Zealand, I understand, in the container under my name on the pink slip. So I've actually got a claim for that 65, I think.
Well, sounds fair.
Yeah, there was names like that put on various machines, and yeah, I'm sorry you didn't have your racing license in those days, otherwise you might have got a drive. But yeah, anyway, that project got put aside for a while, and yes, you're quite correct. Malcolm Udy took that opportunity up later on. But yeah, back to the 69. Look, started as many cars do, just a pretty much end of life car in the US, and so it was picked up as partially complete. We weren't too worried about that because we were going to build it into a race car. So literally, it was built from the ground up. As you can see, she's bare shell material, and that's how it started.
Yeah, so this is how it ended up. So this is up on the stand. Still hasn't turned a wheel in anger at this stage, I don't believe. So it's pretty much a virgin build, still in the same spot, although it's turned around now. And at
this, you go.
Sorry, I was just reading some of the comments. We've had a bit of an audio glitch at the beginning of the show, but I think it's corrected itself now. But yeah, so this is her in her first of many looks. And what was the spec sheet for this one?
Well, it was not out of the way. I mean, we were still slotting it into classic car racing, and so there was nothing really over the top about the car. In fact, I can remember the first outing at the Pinepac Aerodrome, a wings and wheels meeting. It was not a particularly good handling car at that stage. However, we had a modest Woolwood brake package, as I recall it, and that was going to do the job. Still had leaf springs on the rear. I don't think we even had tramp rods, or we might have fitted them very early in the piece. So it was all very basic, and I suppose some of the classic races today would relate to that. This is essentially how your base classic car racing packages, even to this day. And so that's how we started. It was straightforward. Cast iron block, cast iron heads. I don't know, we didn't dyno it early on, but possibly it had 450 horsepower if we were lucky. And so we were set to go racing.
And you mentioned wings and wheels, and obviously that's where it initially got its first outing. The year before, Wayne debuted the Camaro in '91, so '92 was the Mustangs' first race meeting, and that's pretty cool that it was actually just next door at the aerodrome.
Yeah, that's most people would know this, but a few of the younger viewers maybe, or people that don't know where we're based. We literally are to this day right alongside the Pinepac Aerodrome. My family have a great history of association with the Air Force. The Air Force back in the day, 1938, they started to build the Pinepac Aerodrome. Some of the family land was taken back in those days under the Public Works Act to form part of the airfield. However, the relationship with the Air Force, who took up occupancy, it's been good to this very day. So, yeah, it was a great thing to do, great thing to be part of, to be out there and running on the airbase.
If there was ever a home track advantage, that would have to be it. Right next door.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know whether we covered it in one of the earlier videos, but of course, you did right about home track advantage. That's where I tested the Phase 3 HO, and that was a great experience. I'll just quickly cover that again just so people can catch up. But my father-in-law was Chief Air Traffic Controller there, and we had the Phase 3 being delivered, and we were going to run it at Pukekohe in one of the first 100-mile races. And so I arranged with him to take the car out there. And so I lined the HO up, and the Pinepac strip back in those days, I think was 3,000 metres, or might have been 3,500. So that's 3 kilometres best part of, a bit over. And so I set sail, and down one end, and you turn around and come back. And after I'd done a couple of runs, I got a bit of confidence. And so that's when I discovered that airstrips and lack of braking markers are quite a challenge, because I was scooting down there in the HO at it's well recorded speed in the day. 140 mile an hour was not out of the way. And so I approached the northern end of the main strip. Now, you can imagine a pilot coming in there with a Hercules or an Orion or any of those things, and he's got this sorted. He knows exactly where the end of the strip is, and he also knows what those white lines, it's like a big pedestrian crossing. And you wonder when you're driving a car, what the hell would you have a pedestrian crossing in the middle of the road for? But anyway, that's about the time that they want to touch down, and they think about applying the brakes. See, well, they might be doing 200 knots, but I was doing 140 clicks, and I left my braking much too late, and sure enough, I overran the end of the strip. And so there was a bit of a cloud of dust, and I collected my thoughts and came back again and give it another couple of shots. And each time I had to brake further out. I just couldn't work it out. Things were dropping away from me. There was no pedal, and anyway, so I finally stopped. I stopped in the middle of the airstrip, and there was a crowd of people around, including the base commander of the time. And I don't know how the Air Force were operating on the day, but there was probably 8 or 10 of these high command people out there. And they all looked around, and I got out of the car, and there's a bit of a rattle and a tinkle on the ground, and there's something going on here. And so we look under the front, and the front discs are just great balls of fire, literally. They are red hot. And what's fallen on the ground is the brake pads. The brake pads just couldn't handle it, and so they all fell on the ground. So that was my, if you like, my blooding to the home track. So I did learn a bit from that, Baz. You did right.
Yeah.
You did right.
Yeah. Good
So you wouldn't get that today, and I've been fortunate to do a run down the strip as well, and I can vouch that those markers are pretty hard to see on the tarmac. So anyhow, we'll get back underway, and it's nice to have John Elliott online today, and he's asked the question about the 50-cent coin in the rear hatch of the rear boot of the Mustang, and there's a story behind that, and I think it's just plain and simply we couldn't get the lock to work, and Hoppy just grabbed a 50-cent coin and brazed it on there, and it's been there ever since, and that same 50-cent coin is what we used to open the boot. So that's probably where that came from. The Mustang there is.
It wasn't the cost of the build, Dr. John. It was not the cost of the build.
So I chucked this photo up here because there's a very sprightly looking Ken Hopper, still donning the facial hair, which he's renowned for, and this is him checking in on the car at Pinepac, so recently built. Check out the tyres. We're running Hoosier TA2 tyres there, Barry. So before they ran.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's what they started out on. So couldn't not put this picture up, and also we did a bit of a story of the truck, and here it is again featuring. So the truck's seen quite a few cars. It saw the 68 and it's seen the 69. So it's lived through quite a turn of entries. So I'm just trying to find my mouse here on the screen. So you mentioned that it debuted at Pukekohe, so that was 92. This is still 1992. This is now at Pukekohe. This is in the March at the TACOC meeting. Now, those who are eagle-eyed looking at the door, you'll notice that it doesn't have a 69 on there, and it's actually got a 24A. What was that about, Dad?
Yeah, you've just about got me there, but I think this is probably a TACOC meeting where we were running groups of cars by my make. So we had Ford, we had Porsche, we had General Motors, Ferrari, you name it. I think that's what it is, but I'm not absolutely sure. So correct me if I'm going around the wrong
you
track.
pretty much nailed it on the head. There was a 3-hour relay race, if you remember, and you had 3 cars and there was a spare car, and so everybody took turn about doing the segments, and it was around the Grand Prix, well, not the Grand Prix track, what do you call it, the B&H circuit. So you're actually going around the long circuit. Yes,
and in fact, it's interesting. I still have a trophy from that era, and it was an Intermark trophy, as they called it, and it's the most magnificent thing. I'm not sure that I should show it to you tonight because somebody might want to come and steal it. But it was made out of just about every automotive part that you could think of. So I mean, this person, and it is depicting a person. There's spark plugs for this and spark plugs for that, and there's gears for this and gears for that. But a very good rendition of classic motoring art, and that was the Intermark trophy.
And Barry, you can see here the trusty old truck is still featuring, so she's just sneaking in the corner there. Now, speaking of truck, I've got a good shot here, and we'll jump to it. So here she is, and my mother-in-law is going to kill me because that's her on the front of camera. So I'll get in trouble for that. So yeah, this is another TACOC meeting, but there's a bit of a special one. This one is that they let some young fella loose.
This was a meeting. This was a meeting where they said, "Look, it's time to blood some amateurs," and and so people like myself, Baz, were just we were just counted out of the field, and so we just weren't allowed to compete.
Look at that! I haven't changed a bit.
No,
nice and slim.
No. Well, you just recently shaved that mower not so long ago. Otherwise,
so this is April '92. So we're still in '92 yet. We haven't moved out of the first year. And this was my claim to fame, very first race meeting in a car on track. I was actually supposed to do a club meeting, in my road car the week before, but it failed tech because it had a busted ball joint. So yeah, I got to have a skid in the Mustang. So that was the start of start of it all right there.
I was going to say, how was that? How was the first few laps for you?
I even had my stripes on the back. We had to run rookie stripes, so 3 horizontal stripes on the back. It wasn't actually the first time that I drove the car, to be fair. We took the car out to Pukekohe, and you may recall this, Dad, that, thanks, Ross, it's a very good-looking adult movie moustache. Now I've lost my train of thought. No, the car actually had a test day at Pukekohe, and it was straight out of the box. Hoppy just finished it, rolled it out of the truck. Dad went out, did some laps. He'd done a few. That was all good and well, and then he says, "All right, Dawn, you can take it for a drive." And Hoppy, you should have seen him turn white. He just spent 8 months or 10 months building this car, and Bruce is going to let Dawn loose in it at Pukekohe, never having driven on the track before. And I was pissed because I didn't get to drive it first. She did. So, she did some laps and did quite well. And then I got to have a drive. So this was actually the second day driving the car, but my first race meeting. And from memory, they did a rookies race. So everyone that was a rookie for the day started in a rookies race, and they reversed the grid. And it was 6 laps, and I think I started 24th. And I won the thing from 24th. But to be fair, it was like the video that we showed before. It was like bringing a shotgun to a pistol fight. And
with Jacko against the Cortinas.
Yeah, it was good fun. You certainly learned how to pass cars, that's for sure. You just split the difference.
Yeah, look, it was a change in how people approached, I suppose, classic racing, and I've got to give full credit to the people at TACOC back in the day, because they really opened the door as they saw fit. As things change, they change with it. Unlike, some of the categories that have got a bit staid and maybe overruled from the point of view of too many rules. And TACOC were exceptionally good back in the day, and the same people are organising classic racing even to this day. So Tony Roberts, of course, from Hampton Downs, he and the team that they had together at the time, they were open to almost anything as long as it was sensible. And so that's how these races occurred. That's why there was preliminary races. That's why the rules, if you like, were bent to accommodate.
No, it was very good, and there was certainly
Chris Watson. I shouldn't leave Chris out of the mix. And
there
were so many other TACOC people who are still in the background nowadays organising.
Yeah, they were, and they were great meetings, and it was a little bit different bringing the American muscle in a big thumping V8 up against the Cortinas, as you said, Barry. So the car did get to go on a bit of a tour. Now I've brought this photo up because that there is just, I mean, that's a frameable photo, that one. Put it up on the wall. It won't take Angus Fogg very long to figure out where that is, because he has a very precious spot for Bay Park. And here is the Mustang coming out of the end of the back straight loop, leading, looks like Phil Sherbet in the coupe, and then another field of muscle cars beyond there. Tony Gordon in his Corvette, and then right in the middle of the corner, there's Jacko in the orange Camaro, or yellow Camaro, sorry. So once we got going, well, when I say we, once you got your car going, Dad, we started to tour around, and already a few people have been asking, when are we going to get to Hamilton? Well, Tony, you can just hold fire, mate. We'll get there. And we've got plenty of time. So, yeah, look, the car has a long history of going to a lot of tracks in New Zealand that no longer exist, and here's one that, is fondly missed, is Bay Park. And you've got some fond memories of racing there.
Certainly was. Yeah, certainly a neat track. I've got to concede that most of the time, if Wayne was in the same car as I was in down there, he was always just a little quicker. And to this day, I really can't work it out. But to be fair, he was quicker, and he just loved those constant radius corners, which presented a different challenge. And we haven't got a track in New Zealand now that's really got constant radius corner. The nearest to it I can think of is down in the South Island, some of those corners you get into them, and you seem to drive around them, for half a day before you get out the other end.
Yeah, Terratonga and Highlands have those, but yeah, it certainly was very unique with those long corners. It just certainly turn one at Bay Park just kept going and going and going and going, and then eventually through the sand dune, you saw the straightaway and you floored it. So the car's done a lot of miles up and down the country, and a lot of miles on tracks that no longer exist. So we'll just skip forward here through some. So we've seen this one. This one I put up because my loving wife Andrea, she actually turned this into a tapestry for me. So I've got a tapestry of that on the wall, which is quite cool.
Nice.
And now we mentioned about him earlier on, and there's a bit of a segue here, because this is a lineup for the Tacock 100 Mile Enduro. And Barry, look at that truck in the background. She features, doesn't she? She's everywhere.
Yeah.
And
no, it's not a grandstand at that point, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the grandstand's up. Nobody's in it.
Yeah, it's up. No one's on it. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, this gentleman here, there's a bit of a story into how he came about to share a ride with me.
Yeah, well,
can you remember?
Mr. Ed, as we talked about earlier on, he popped up a couple of times, and the racing at Wellington was special for me, and then Andrew got called into Ed's team, and he took his place in one of the crockies. You name it, Andrew. The meeting. I can't think of the name.
Yeah. So the car that we had up before was the 1991. Then that car raced again, but Ed had a second car, and so in '92 I got to do. You did Wellington, I did Pookie, and then to return the favour, we invited Ed to come and drive in the muscle car. So I think you were actually overseas on business, and so you said, "Oh, we'll just get Ed along." We duly took it to Wayne in the background there with the Camaro, and he was teamed up with Warren Midgley, and Ed and I managed to win the 100 Mile Enduro Classic at the Tacock meeting. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, it was certainly a bit of an eye opener for Ed, jumping out of what was pretty much a Group N Commodore into the muscle car. So yeah, it was a bit of a handful for him, but it was good times, and he did really well.
Yeah, spoke to Ed recently, and yeah, he has great memories of that time as we do, and I think it's just so neat that we've lived already through an era of competitors who not only fought hard against each other, but actually joined hands on numerous occasions and enjoyed motorsport together. Really, really classic stuff.
So moving forward, we're seen to ditch the truck around now, so we're heading south, and this is 93, and the two cars are on display here at NZ Gases, and this was the prequel to having a. Oh, I'm just battling here with my mouse. Sorry, guys. Yeah, taking it to Wellington.
Yes, this is when Wellington opened up to a lot of categories, and so we were part of that. MTA Drive, I think, is the sponsor of this particular round of our series, and yeah, pretty enjoyable. But yeah, bit of a handful round Wellington. Of course, there's a lot of squirt and go, and not too much of the flowing corners. So yeah, it made for an interesting, an interesting adventure, I suppose you might call it. But enjoyable just the same. And Andrew, you and I think, drove one of the races down there together. And
yeah, we did.
I
think we did 2 years. You did the first year, and I helped do it. There was a mini enduro, and I remember you saying, you know, who's going to start? And I just instantly says, oh, well, you can, because you got the experience, and I'll wait for it all to spread out, and I'll hop in and do the finish leg. And you said, no, you can start. And I went, oh shit, that's when all the carnage happens. So yeah, I did 30 minutes around. I think it was a 1 hour enduro. So yeah, we did 30 minutes. Got out dripping wet because it had no power steering and no power brakes. And because you thought it was the power steering was a robbing horsepower thing, so we couldn't afford that. And yeah, it was a great experience. I think I only scraped the wall once. So
just
yeah.
that first turn, first lap, first turn would be eye-opener, wouldn't it?
It was, yeah, it sure was. But yeah, not forgetting that this is 1993, so I'm merely 21 years old and hooning around the streets in a 500 horsepower muscle car, which is and not on slicks. No, I think I ditched the mow by now. I was going professional.
Losing every bit of weight.
Yeah. So now Bruce said about Wellington being a bit of a handful. I'm going to call bullshit on that. Look at this. Fuck, I'm calling bullshit. Like, how's it a handful when you've got one arm out the window?
Yeah, well, there must have been somebody I was interested in up in the crowd there, because that's quite a wave. I mean, that's a serious wave, and yeah.
I thought
I'm
looked like you're looking for a lion brown.
Well,
there you go, Baz.
I think an alternative, Baz. That anything but.
Yep, that'd make you go fast, just to go. Yeah, just so you couldn't have one.
Yeah, rest assured, I'd never even spotted that in the back of the photo, but if there's anything alcoholic referenced in a photo, Barry, you're the man, you'll find it.
Oh, it's all about branding.
You're in marketing, that's right. So yeah, Wellington, now I don't know whether he ended up paying the fine, but he got one of these in the mail. So yeah,
fourth. There was a speed trap on the main chute, and 181 wasn't a bad speed down there. You know, normal circumstances, you'd be down to 40 or 50k along the main straight there.
There'd be half a dozen. Sorry, I was just going to say, jumping in there, there's going to be half a dozen raised pedestrian crossings you'd go across now.
Yeah,
and
Ubers.
So true. And how we it's a thing that sticks in my mind, just how dead the Wellington waterfront was when we first appeared down there and ran the early races, and how it came alive. And I mean, there'll be others that would argue that there's other things that brought it alive. However, I do think the Wellington Street races did bring downtown Wellington alive, shook the Christ out of everybody that thought you couldn't do this or couldn't do that, and dare I say it, probably woke up the city fathers to opportunities that they never would have seen. It was really the major circus came to town. It was an international event, and the crowds. That was, I think, the surprise for everybody. The crowds that turned up were just fantastic. They were wanting to participate. They were there to enjoy themselves, and then eventually, of course, the whole Wellington waterfront has changed, and you know, apart from lockdown and all that sort of silly stuff, it's now a vibrant part of that city.
Yeah. So look, I just have remembered, and we'll get back to it, but there's a little bit of classic footage here of the old Mustang going around. Now, you guys might not be able to hear the audio, but it's streaming for our viewers online. So this is her at Pukekohe in '92. So this is what he's against. So that's look, that's Greg Murphy.
I was going to say
What's Murphy driving?
Number.
Yeah. So look, this is some of the classics, and I'll play it forward while we're talking. This is the retro New Zealand motor racing videos. Oh, he's gone out wide. Hang on to it. But there's one in particular that I want to get to, and if I can jump forward to the right time slot. Oh, here's the Mustang again.
Just so some people don't know what those cars were earlier on. Javelin, and they weren't the world's fastest car, but anybody that ever owned one was in love with them, and they did a lot of motor racing in their day.
And here's Bro and his Camaro. So I'm just going to pause it there. Now, I have talked to Jacko and everybody who keeps asking when's he going to come online, and we will get him here. But I need to go forward. I'm just trying to get this at about the right spot. Now, I just want to debrief after this. So we saw what happened there. What's a bit of brotherly love?
No, well, I think we need Robbo to come in at this point. Robbo was probably one of the best adjudicators that I ever sat in front of to sort out these incidents. Now, my interpretation is quite simple. I came down, I'm obviously well ahead, and little bro, he just forgets to, get on the brakes. Now, whose line is it? Is that a car length or is that a car length? And quite simply, I think Robbo would adjudicate and say, well, Bruce, that was your line and he took it away from you. So there you go. I'd love Robbo to come on at some stage and adjudicate. But, look, there was never a quarter given, and I suppose this epitomises that very thing. We went out there to race, and I know people said to me at the time, why on earth do you two people, why do you two brothers, compete like that? And I said, well, and Wayne, I think, would say the same thing. We were out there to compete. There you go. See, that classic understeer. This is over confidence in your ability, and he's just outbraked himself. And,
I think,
and understeer is taking over.
I think if there's ever a picture of understeer, that's one right there. it's
I think
it's
Jacko
full lock.
Jacko might have been using the brake markers from the Whenua Whai Air Force Base.
Yeah, I think he was.
Well,
So
as you can see, he's trying to push the B pillar out of the way. The A pillar is nowhere within his grasp, and so look, I find it pretty strange.
So if I remember correctly, I think you nearly broke your wrist on that one because you had the steering wheel spun round and caught your thumb and just about friggin' severed your hand off because it snapped on you pretty quick. But I meant to bring that up before, but yeah, see, it's all's fair in love and war, but it's live to fight
somebody
another
ring
day.
Robbo, please. Get Robbo online.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I've got it on good authority. Grant Sprague. Ooh, Bruce, you left the gap and Wayne. Ooh, out of control. Ask Craig Beard. We'll have to get Beardo online.
Yeah,
so, never mind. Okay, so back to the stills, but I thought that was just too good. And again, retro New Zealand motor racing videos. That's YouTube. Look it up. Give them a like. It's some great old footage. So we were at Wellington. Then this fella keeps turning up here. Keeps coming to steal the ride. So there was a fair bit of seat swapping going on. And you can see here, this is I'm actually doing the 169. So Bruce was running 69 for the weekend, and every time I got to race in another class, I'd have to run up and put the temporary sticker on, and go and have my race, and then whip the sticker off, and then Bruce would have a go. So very fortunate to have the chance.
Yeah, to be fair, Baz, you'd understand now, why in later years I decided it was far better to build a second car. Because it's just not on. Having this young fella taking over the driving all the time. That was yet to happen.
I think that was the method in Andrew's madness there. He just keep plaguing you till he got another car. So,
yeah, I got to put a shout out because I got those overalls from Ray Easton, and I got the old Turbo Traders. Look at rocking the Turbo Traders. Jeez, it's cringy.
Jeez.
What a fashion. So yeah, that's Wings and Wheels. We got to have a go there. That's 94. Now, something that's a little bit different. Did anybody know that the Mustang had actually done its time on the dirt?
Yeah, this
Good on
was this was part of growing up. And when I say that, it was part of growing up for me because the promoter of the Speedway back in the day was Willie Kay, and I'm sure anybody that's been to the roundy stuff at Western Springs would know Willie Kay's name. There he is, there in the blue.
Yeah, there he is.
Back on. Yep. And so Willie and I had gone to school together, and he convinced me at one stage there that I should sponsor, the Speedway, and we did. We got involved in the Speedway to the extent of building their control tower. Back in the day, they didn't have a decent control tower to operate from, and we built that. And then, as part of that, we were sponsors of various events, and this being one of them. And we went along there and did a few demo laps or pace car laps, if you like, in the field. So it was a great time. Again, great contacts in motor racing, and just a lot of fun.
I don't recall the swimming pool being there. Because there's someone in the middle dressed with their bathers on.
I didn't zoom in on that, Baz, but I thought you were looking at the beer tent, to be fair. But there's someone. I think it's a family show. But I think if there's me holding the flag, that's Michael Kendall in the blue overalls with the trophy, and the girl, and I'm not sure who the other two are. I would hazard a guess this is maybe the 50 lapper or one of the international meetings. So it was always quite a cool thing. And yeah, I got to do a couple of laps on the dirt with it. And being left-hand driver, it was quite good. But the passengers were pretty scared being up against the wall. So yeah, it's again, I suppose, just touching on this car. It's got a lot of history. It's gone to a lot of places. It's done some very unique things. Ken Hopper was still running the workshop, and he said one day, he says, "Oh, we want to go down to Taupo and take on Rick Cooper." So we packed up the car and headed off down to Taupo, and this is on the old Taupo circuit, and I got to race down there, and it went pretty good. It was a tight little go-kart track. I think it was only about 45 seconds to get around, but that was pretty cool. So it's again one of those tracks that the car has been on. It's been on Bay Park and the old Taupo circuit, Wellington to throw in the mix as well. It's crammed a lot in, and this is only mid 1994, so 3 years into its life, and it's already had quite a lot of miles and been to a lot of different places. So we go back to Bay Park, and this one, Bruce, is obviously quite a special meeting. This was the flying farewell at Bay Park.
Yes, this was the final meeting there, and took the Mustang down. It's probably the most laid-back meeting, but also one of the most enjoyable meetings that I've ever been to. Judith and I went down there early in the weekend, and we were playing golf in those days, and so I qualified on the Saturday, and that was all over by about 1 o'clock. I'd taken the car out, only done 3 or 4 laps, qualified it on pole, and was feeling pretty good about things. So Judith and I went off and played a round of golf the rest of the afternoon. So that's how active the pit crew was in those days.
I don't think there was any pit crew. You were it.
Yeah, we were doing our thing, and then I think on the Sunday, Andrew, you came down, and so we almost doubled the pit crew at that stage, and but had a pretty good weekend. Competed well the whole weekend, and ended up being the points winner in that final round of muscle cars down there. I think it's George Shurey in front of me there, is it, in that photo?
Well, I was thinking that as well, but it's a Camaro, so we know he's the number 20. I think it would have to be one of George's cars, I think. But just going back, just quickly before we move on, and there's a story to be had about how the pit crew got there. Gina Harris has just come online, and let's just go for the roll call. So I need to make a humble apologies here, because to not remember someone of this legacy would be a miss of me. So I got the Michael Kendall correct, and this is Barry Butterworth in the middle. So my humble apologies for not remembering such a legend. And then on the left-hand side, we've got Mark Cooper. So thanks, Gina, for helping us with that roll call. And as you said, there's Willie Kay. Was quite ahead of his time setting up the show, and did it for many years. So yeah, getting back to Bay Park, I hadn't decided to go down, and then and then I'm glad I did, because it was, you can only do the first things once, and you can only do the last things once, and the last meeting at Bay Park, to be there, tick it off. I was fortunate during my career to have raced there, but Baz, Mum had a brand new Telstar TX5 XRI. It just needed running in, so I went and fetched that, and I think I got from Whenuapai to Bay Park in about an hour and 45 minutes. It goes pretty good.
They did.
Mum was horrified because her brand new car had been run in.
Yep. Wouldn't it? Yeah, it was the best thing that could happen to it.
Yeah. I think it lived on a very healthy life after that, after the valves got a good stretching in the V6. Yep. So yeah, there's Bay Park. Now we're going to go through a bit of a hopefully we don't upset people, because this is the car as it was back in, where am I? I'm trying to find my photos here. This is 95, so April 95, Bay Park. And we haven't got all the years covered, but some other photos popped up, and this one's quite a special photo, and there was a lot going on in here, but we obviously decided we needed some aero, so we've gone for the big grader blade on the front, and she's a little bit bigger than factory spec.
Yep.
But check out what's in the background, Baz.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That's why Jacko wanted to buy that XE of me. Same colour.
Same colour, yeah. So there's
but
turned into
but
red.
Check out the rego. Check out the rego.
Yeah, I know the car. Yeah, it's previously yellow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Oh, I've lost the rego on the crop photo, but that is XE. That is the Pinepac XE Falcon after it was purchased by Ian Midgley from Pinepac Joinery. You can see the sign writing on the bonnet, and still donning the road plate LH9901, and that's
got a reasonable scoop on it too now. See, it's got a.
Yeah, it had a bit of a working over. To be fair to say, it was no longer in Group A spec. And I suppose just trolling through all these photos, it's kind of quite cool to come over that, because not only has the race truck seen a lot of different cars, it's nice that the two cars actually did have an opportunity to buddy up, and we saw the Fox bodies, the Fox body get together with the Boss back at Eastern Creek. So yeah, it's kind of just nice to have that linkage. It's a pity that car no longer exists, but we'll move on from that. So yeah, a bit of aero. Grant Sprague is still watching online. Did the spoiler make a big difference, Bruce, in the day?
I think Grant, in fairness, had probably slowed the car down at that point, because nothing else on the car was in keeping with it, and of course that was what we were going through, was this trial and error, what worked and what didn't work, and very seldom does just one add-on work, and Grant and others in motorsport would know that. So no, I think it's good that we've got that bit of history. It's like a coal shovel. It hasn't outlived its usefulness yet. There is still coal-fired power stations around. This car obviously contributed to that, and so it goes down as a matter of record.
Yeah,
and I believe Dick Johnson had the same thing, the same words with some other aero upgrades on vehicles, and what do you say? About as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike. So.
That's it. Yeah. So, very well put. But I think it was a case of having so much front aero, and if you notice at the back, we still didn't have the Mustang rear spoiler. So not that did much either, but it might have been a bit for cooling, getting a bit more air in, but certainly not what we've accustomed today. Now moving forward, this is 96. We've got a 97 montage going here. So again, the annual Whenuapai Wings and Wheels. We've cut a few people off there. This was a promotional shot before the first of our sponsored events, the Pinepac Wings and Wheels event. So there's the base commander, Mr. Barclay. Bruce.
Jim Barclay.
Yep, and the guy on the left is from IMG. His name escapes me. And then from TACOC, I'm going to struggle with that one. You might be able to help me out there, Bruce.
Not quite sure.
Yeah, so there's one of the PC3 Orions, possibly the one that's just been retired. The car's still going strong. Look at these two sprightly fellas.
Look at that, eh?
Hey, check out Wayne's hairstyle, will you? What's going on there? He will have a right of reply, guys.
Who would think there'd be Biff and Bards from those two?
My hair hasn't changed much. It's very similar style.
Oh,
Yeah,
look,
yeah, I like the way you do that.
yeah, and if just to reply to Grant, look at the blade angle on the rear wing. We've obviously decided we need maximum downforce.
Yep, that'll do it.
That'll do it. And we've got a bit of branding going on the car now, so it's had a little bit at Wellington, and over time it's had various liveries. And here it is, has the Pinepac hardware store, Timber Hardware Service livery on it. What do we have up top? Oh, there we go. There's a nice one with the truck and the plane. And getting very artistic.
Yeah.
Everyone got a chance to have a photo. So, oh, check out the
Oh,
uniform. Holy moly,
Oh,
mate! Even wearing a tie. It must have been a formal. I don't know about the beige shoes. It matches Mum's
You almost-
handbag at least.
if you had white pants on and took the tie off, you'd look like a Test cricketer.
Yeah, and there's the happy couple. So there's Mum and Dad. So we're gonna get Mum online. Everyone said, "When's Mum coming? Where's Mum?" Yeah, she'll be online. She'll come on to feature in a show later on, and she's always there looking after us boys, and sometimes playing mediator as well. And we'll get to that. So there's Wings and Wheels, 97. That was the photo shoot at the track at the airbase. Then we did a parade in Queen Street. So again, dawning up the trailer. If I get to another photo here, poor old Ed Lamont. I must have felt bad for him that day. I peeled him off the banner. Yeah, we won we won the 100-mile enduro classic, but he wasn't good enough to stay on the banner. I peeled his name off. I don't know why I did that. That's pretty rude. Maybe I should twink that back in. Yeah, so there's the car and parading up through Queen Street, and if I remember correctly, we actually started it up on the trailer going up Queen Street, just to wake everybody up at lunchtime. So that was pretty cool. Moving forward, I suppose just more so the oh, now I've put you right over the top of it, Barry. You're in the way, mate. You're in the way. Move over. Just the changes to the look of the car. We've now got another front spoiler, bit more ground hugging front spoiler. Got the rear wing still on, and those who are looking very keenly, we've actually got Mr. Gurney on the back. Decided we'd put a gurney flap on the back.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah.
So we're going all out now. It's not about classic, it's about speed. And I don't know what's going on inside there. Clearly I'm not driving. Bruce is driving, but I'm doing something inside. It might be just looking at the lap timer. So this is at a man's Motorsport New Zealand Summer Series meeting. So sort of pre-Central Muscle Cars. And where am I at now? Yeah, so still getting raced at 1998. These two fellas still trying to beat the shit out of it. God.
Right, who's up for a game of bowls?
Yeah, golf has gone secondary at this point.
Yeah. I don't know whether you're allowed to bag the host that much, Barry. Otherwise, I might just disconnect you. But yeah, it's amazing what the fashion is. I got the Canterbury socks there, so that's all good. But yeah, we're back at Whenuapai. I suppose it's sort of, for me, it was quite a cool car to race at Whenuapai. It just seemed to be a track that it did really well in, and certainly a bit of horsepower didn't hurt on the long straightaways. So this is now 98 Wings and Wheels, and we're just trying to find my cursor again. I keep losing it. So again, bit of a photo shoot. I think this was the second year that we had the big IMG meetings. There's Mum again joining in, but big wide photo shoot. And if I scroll to the next one, we talked about this a little bit before in a previous show, and here it is. You can't really get much more royalty, probably all three really, to be fair, Baz. But check that out.
Yep. Shit, yeah, yep.
Yeah, this was a pretty special moment. Yeah, special moment, Baz. So you don't get a chance to meet these sort of people that often, and I know you've been up and down pit lane a fair bit and have met a lot of good people. But these were a couple of the, if you like, childhood heroes. Especially the guy on my right hand side there in the black jersey, Sir Sterling Moss. To have him around for lunch, literally was that. We had him in our promotions tent, and along with him, Chris Amon, one of New Zealand's best, and top Formula One driver in his time. So, look, pretty special childhood moment for me. I had an autograph book, which I think you can see in my hand there. There's a red autograph book, and back in the day when Sterling came to New Zealand and was racing against Jack Brabham and Bruce McLaren and others, he came into Pinepac Airport, and so there was a photo recorded of that. They're looking at the memorabilia board that we put together for them, and that was one of the photos of me getting Sterling's autograph as a kid. So I was probably 12, 13 years old at the time, and so here we were, probably the best part of 35, 40 years later, and I showed Sterling the autograph book, and I said, you better sign it a second time. And so I still have that book, hold it dearly, to have such a champion. I think we're seeing a shot now of Sir Sterling and Sir Jack Brabham, myself off to the right, upper right-hand side, and so that was when I got his autograph the first time, and then of course, as you've seen there in the other photo, I got his autograph a second time. So very, very special time for me to meet such two great people from motorsport, and just enjoy their company. They're with us for an hour or two, and just really special people to have on board.
Yeah, no, it's
just
it's pretty cool.
That's to say that they're just down to earth. They would have just slotted in.
Yeah, there is a story that Sir Sterling told me, but look, it's not appropriate for public viewing. It's fair to say that Sterling and Chris Amon shared some of their memories, and it was one of those memories. And they talked about a particular track in Europe and particular people they met and how they interacted with those people, and just how special it was. And you could just see the smiles coming over both their faces as they related this part of their history, and were kind enough at the time to share it with us. And just really down to earth, as you say, people down to earth, and just so enjoyable to have.
So yeah, the smiles were all round Barry, because I was smiling because Bruce was doing the hospitality, and I was doing the driving. So it's all smiles all round. Now,
win-win.
Now Ross has been babysitting and watching online, and if he's watching online, there he is there at the back of the car. So there you go, Ross. I found you. You've made the show.
Oh, look at that.
Look at there he is at the back. Now, check out the, I don't know what kind of glasses I've got rocking there. But, yeah. And that's Keith on the back on with the big cowboyish hat. He did a lot of the fiberglass work, so he was responsible for making those spoilers. And bit of a segue there. If I go back to the full screen image, you'll see the nose of the Lighting Direct car. And he actually built the body kit that was on Owen Evans's land speed record car. So there's a little bit of a tie in there. So this was Wings and Wheels 90. If I get we're now 99. So we've gone 98 with Sir Sterling. This is 99, and this was one of the very few times I actually got to race up against Wayne on the track. Now, we've got the really big spoiler going on there, Grant. Got the really big rear wing appendage, and Wayne's gone for the, I think it was a Group Group A a supercar Falcon
it looks
rear
like
wing.
it looks like a Falcon from the sort of 93, 94 era wing.
Yeah, so he's now upgraded from the 68 Camaro into the 70 Camaro, and that Big Red, as it was affectionately known, that was the first of his cars that he moved away from the team colours in his own brand and started AV8 Motorsport. And yeah, it was a bit of a beast of a car, that thing. Unfortunately, he had a coming together with another competitor at this meeting and wiped the front off it, so that was not too good. And we'll show that in a future episode when we get Jacko on board.
Wasn't Bruce?
No, Bruce was in the hospitality tent.
Yeah, that's right. He was.
So Bruce left the door open, so it was all his own fault.
Yeah, you see in the background there the Air Force 727 was the VIP flight in those days, and that subsequently got upgraded to 757s by, I believe, one Helen Clark. Obviously, the 727 just wasn't up to the job, so upgrades were made, and that's what you see today.
So yeah, the wing appendage on the race cars was trying to keep up with the upgrades going at the airbase. So they were upgrading their planes, and we just thought we better upgrade our cars as well. So it's surprising nobody's actually asked, but yeah, there was a fair bit of aero testing around the airbase, let alone on the airbase, but that's another story. So 98, 99, sort of the start of Super GTs, and hence we're running these very extreme looking body kits now. So this is at Pukekohe, Dad having a go up against Jacko, and we're sort of getting to the end of the first era of the Mustang, and this is what we're up against. Every time we kind of made the muscle cars go quicker, those buggers would go over and buy a bigger Porsche. So they started with 911 Cup cars, then they went and bought Le Mans cars, then they bought IMSA cars or whatever they were, and put bigger turbos on them, and they still got blitzed by Jacko in a straight line. So this is me at Pukekohe.
Yeah, so that...
Sorry?
Yeah, the real challenge really, I suppose, a real challenge to try and stay in front of those European cars of the day, because they were the best of the best, and here we were driving around in old tanks, and and yes, it surprised a few of the boys, and however, I think all of us, the Porsche and Ferrari and everybody else that had a go at us, and eventually beat us. There was no question about that. They got in front at the finish. We just had such enjoyable days out there trying to do it better with, in our case, pretty crude equipment, but we threw horsepower and sheer American grunt at it, and it was just, again, I can't stress it too much. It was a really neat period of motorsport.
Don't forget, Bruce, there was some ability in there as well.
Well, there was probably a bit of youth on the side even then, Baz. So, I'll take credit for the youth side of it.
Yeah, so back then we were running probably closer to 700 horsepower. Jacko was probably, he'd be pushing into the 800s, I would have thought, with the big block. 17-inch Dunlop slicks, so we're running full supercar equivalent Dunlop K1 or D1 Dunlop slicks. So that really woke them up, and didn't quite crack the minute round Pukekohe back in those days. Bruce certainly has since, and on lesser tyres too, might I add. But Wayne, I think in the Camaro, his best back in this era was a 58.8. So it was pretty rapid back in the day. So
those, just correct me if I'm wrong, are those the still centres using the same, like that Simmons 17 wheel to this day? Like that same, some of those wheels are carried over to this day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I mentioned that a week or two back, and can't speak too highly about those Simmons wheels. I mean, hey, they might let us down one day, but they've been already on the track for best part of 30 years, I would think, Baz, and centres have never given us a problem. The inners and outers, yes, you clip the odd curb or the odd other wheel and have a problem, but no, the centres were just bulletproof.
Yeah.
So this is back at Whenuapai again. Seems to be where a lot of the cars racing was happening in the late 90s. This is a cool photo. Wayne's original 68 and then the 70 on the other side, so you've got them in numeric order. And that's the RSSS 68 Camaro of Wayne's, which has subsequently gone on and be quite highly modified. It was a very iconic car back in the day. And this is the three of them lining up. It's now owned by Paul Kerwin in the photo, the 68 is. And this meeting, Barry, this was a meeting of just being in the wrong place at the wrong time for me. Just that much too late. Just that much too late.
Okay.
So to
get a drive.
Yeah. So the big red was one that I never got to race. Andy Booth actually got to do a race in it. But Jacko had a back operation, and in the weeks leading up to this, I thought, maybe I need to go and have a chat with him. So here I was, a bit delayed. I rocked up at his house having a coffee. Oh, Jacko, just want to talk to you about your car. He says, too late, son. Oh, why is that? He says, Bruce is going to drive it. Oh, crap, I've missed my opportunity. So, this is one of the few times that Bruce and I actually went heads up on track. And we maybe need to bring Mum into this one because it didn't end too well. Bruce got to drive the Camaro, and we were sports and GT racing. Again, there's the there's the opposition, and if I remember correctly, at the Saturday night function, Owen Evans tripped over a tent stay rope and re-broke his arm that he'd obviously had severely damaged in the land speed record. And this is Dean Fulford in the Lighting Direct Porsche. At one stage there was three of them, obviously. There was Owen, Dean and Bill Fulford. And yours truly in the Mustang, I won 3 from 3 that weekend. So there was one part of the copybook, and this is probably the other half. Oops.
Oh,
not too good. And I'm trying to find a previous comment that came up on the Facebook page before, because the gentleman that actually came for a hot lap after this incident took place, he still remembers it today. There he is on board going for a hot lap straight after the guard ended up getting rearranged. And I'll give you the first right of comment, Dad. You probably don't remember.
Probably not one of the nicer moments. But it's one of those racing incidents that probably, you can say they should never have happened, but it did happen, and so you've got to live on past that. I wasn't giving any quarter to Andrew, and he likewise, and we probably should have been a bit more sensible on the day. There's always the back out moment, and you should have done that.
I should have, or you should have.
Well, no, hang on. You haven't let me finish. To be fair, I wasn't feeling as comfortable in the Camaro as I was in the Mustang. It was a different car to drive, and all credit to Wayne. He had the measure of that car, and I didn't. And so it was one of those times that you could say, well, should have backed out of that one.
I think
records it.
To be fair, you hit the nail on the head, because we'd not long after this started touring car racing and in the NZV8s, and Andy Booth was very fortunate to be given a drive of Big Red, and I thought, oh geez, here we go, this will blow Jacko's times to the weeds, and I'll have to get Andy to confirm it, but my recollection was Andy wasn't able to beat Jacko's time. And there's Andy Booth, the Grand Prix winner, and he went on to win 2 New Zealand V8 championships. And he got out of it and went, yep, that takes a bit of manhandling. So, it was just like you said, Wayne had an affinity with that car. It just suited his style, and he certainly got the most out of it. So we'll play this forward, and we need Robbo on board again.
Oh dear.
But yeah.
Now, that's not as clear cut as that other incident. I mean, this is a bit difficult.
So I'm on the inside, and I've come to a dead stop, and he still manages to hit me. But anyhow, whether I should have got there or got in the back corner of him, got out of it, I was trying to I'd gone past one of those very familiar Pinepac aerodrome brake markers, and we know what happens there. And I'd gone a little bit deep, and I thought, oh, no, he's not seen me. And then I'm trying to backpedal, and just taps the rear of it. And I went, oh, shit. And what does any race driver do?
Yeah.
He just gets on the gas and goes on and wins the race.
Yeah, look, I definitely think we need Robbo involved on this too. It's definitely an A pillar at B pillar moment.
Yeah.
And I'd like that video to go in front of Robbo and
all right.
let him have a look at it.
We might have to send it to the forensics first to get some clarity, but there's definitely no doubt about it that the Big Red would pull past the Mustang, no problem. And the only chance I had to get back in front was under brakes, and I certainly sent it. I did the full send, but never mind. And Peter Van Kampen, Peter H. Van Kampen is back online, and he has said, and he vouches, yes, he was the hot lap recipient in the car after that incident at Pinepac.
Good work.
So, and he'd love a copy of the photo, so he can message me, and I'll send it. And he's in the car. And the only thing more stressful than that, we literally came straight in. So this photo here was straight off the track. You can see the dent in the car. So this was straight off the track. We rolled round and went straight to hot laps, and they jumped in, and off we went. And there's for those watching at home, there's a very, very young looking David Hopper looking in the window, and Stephen Murray, my cousin, looking in the window, and our passenger on board. So there you go, Peter. I'm pretty sure that's you in there, mate. But straight after this, we got out after the hot laps and unsuited, and let's just say, I don't know how I didn't get decked by Jacko, but he said, if you ever hit my effing car again, you're going to be laying on your back. I was like, whoa, okay. But, and I was trying to give my explanation. No, he wasn't interested. It's like, okay. Fortunate for me that video surfaced a year or two later, because it kind of redeemed a bit of neutral ground. I won't say it's one way or the other. It's one of those 50-50 things, but I can tell you, Baz, that happened on Sunday, and we had a family dinner at Mum and Dad's after that. Boy, you could cut the tension with a knife. That's what it's all about.
But I was starting to sweat there for a while, because I thought you were going to ask me who was in the wrong.
Okay, Baz.
Don't bring me into this.
That's the next question, Baz.
No, I'll pass on that one.
Very good. So look, it's something at the time you wish it never happened. It did, and it's nice to be able to share a laugh with Dad. And to sum it up best was my Auntie Leonie. So this is Dad's youngest sister. Because Jacko was literally going to kill me. And she said, but he's your nephew. You're going to have to figure out how to get through this. And so the easiest way to get through this, 3 weeks later, he was building an NZV8 for me to start my career in the NZV8 Championship. So I think he forgave me. And we went on to have a very, very successful race period and era. But that's for another day. So look, we're finishing on a funny note. So that's kind of about the end of the era of the Mustang, because I mentioned the NZV8s. It kind of took over our focus for a while. I found this one. This was the Liquor King 500 2000 at Pukekohe. That's me in the car with my yellow painted up helmet, and my old mate, sparring partner Dean Perkins. So it seems to be a common theme tonight, is people getting in the rear end of the Mustang, and here's the old XD giving the Mustang a turnaround.
You'd just about be eyeballing one another.
I think by the way that my head angle is looking out the side window, I think I'm actually telling him through my eyes what I think of him right now. But I probably was just as eager and over eager at times, being young and having the opportunity to be in a pretty fast car that just got into a bit of trouble where I probably shouldn't have stuck my nose. And certainly Phil Sherbert will tell you about that, but that's another story. So that sort of kind of finishes where we're at. There's one last photo I've got here. If I zoom out, I can then move over. And this is probably one of the last photos of the car, 2001, before it had a bit of a hibernation for a while, and got to be reborn. And we'll cover that in another show, because we've already blabbed on here for an hour and a half. But it's been pretty cool, showing everybody where the Mustang started, where it's gone, what it's achieved, what it's done in New Zealand, let alone in its second life, where it got to venture overseas. So we'll cover that off in another segment. But Dad, she's I remember the day as if it was yesterday that you decided to build the car, because the excitement of me really kicked off, because the other cars disappeared before I got a chance to drive them. I used to steer them around the pits, warm them up, but to have another car back in the team, to get a chance to be on track was, I can remember that day like it was just yesterday. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, yes, it's been a journey, and we're only about halfway through the history, in this segment. But having said that, look, it's been an enjoyable car. It's done a lot of things, and there's been a lot of different drivers in it. It's what race cars should be about. They're fun pieces of equipment, and that's what that car's been for me. It's been a really, really fun car.
Yeah, no, it certainly has, and it's had a few, as we've seen tonight, it's had a few facelifts. It's still the same chassis underneath. We've had numerous people come up to us during Central Muscle Car era saying that they have the original, and etc., but good luck to them, because it is the original car, and you can see there the history that it's had. It's pretty special, and it's still making it. And we did skip over, and I don't know how I managed to do that, Baz, but it did feature in your home neck of the woods, and I better put this up here quickly for Tony Rowe. This is at the Hamilton Street Race, the classic Hamilton Street Race before the supercar one. So it even featured in your hometown.
The Telecom Classic, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll err on the side of not showing any of the Sunday photos, because that was not any of my finer moments. We'll leave that in the editor cutting room floor. So thanks guys. It's been a hoot. It's sort of a bit just organic. Let it flow, and let the images do the talking, and they certainly have. And each one's had a story, and it's nice to be able to share that with people. Greg Stokes, you're more than welcome, buddy. Some of the history, it's pretty cool to go down memory lane and share that with everybody. So thanks for your time, guys.
Pleasure to be here, as always.
Yep. Thanks to anybody that's watching, and your comments. Cheers.